All right. Hello to everybody that is tuning in tonight for another episode of the Coach's Corner. We're going to let all of our guests get settled in, but while they are doing that, just a couple words for everybody that is watching. Feel free to ask questions. If you just drop them in the chat box, I will pass them on over. There is everybody saying hi. I will pass them on over, and hopefully we'll have time to get to everything. But if not tonight, be sure to head over to the Coach's Corner because they're amazing, and they'll be sure to answer everything there. So that being said, I'm going to pass this off to His Grace Duke Brannos.
Welcome back, everyone. Looking forward to a great episode tonight. As we all know, we kind of went live as far as getting back to practices July 1st. So a lot of groups are starting back up, all their official activities. Some have done it before, but some have put it off until they could actually fight without masks or meet the local guidelines. So tonight we have Jarl Thorfin. Happy to have him back. I think Sir Octa may join us later. He had some stuff come up. And we have Maestra Nicolina. And she is actually from Duke Sean's practice. And they do a lot of sharing of training ideas, and we'll talk a little bit about some of that in the later part of the episode. But also she's very active in trying to make sure that practice is going and get started again. So we'll share some stories. I think Thorfin's been to his first practice already. So right. He had some stories himself, which is awesome. And mine actually doesn't happen. This weekend's our 4th of July. So it lands right on the 4th of July. Mine's actually not happening until the 11th. So I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends back. And today we're going to talk a lot about, how do we get our friends back? And I hope that everybody gets a chance to share. If you have ideas to share, we'll try to read and keep going through the comments, and Vesper can help us grab sharing ideas and post them so we can make sure we don't miss stuff. So if you have stuff, go ahead and post it up. We're happy to share what others think as well, and post up questions, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there. One of the big pieces is we're not going to really cover all the board decisions, all of the decisions around everything. There's too much space. It's been covered by a million people in a million different ways. We're here about restarting and looking forward to restarting, looking forward to getting SCA activities going again, and really trying to get to a point where, we're all comfortable again together and enjoy each other's company. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to Nicolina and ask, have you actually started practices yet?
Yes, we've actually had practices going kingdom-wide for about a month now.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
They've
so on that note, I guess, is so have you guys been doing a mask thing for about a month? Or okay, so are you guys going to be unmasked for the first time?
Yeah, I'm so excited to not have to wear masks. Well, a lot of people still will be, I'm sure, but I'm very excited that it's going to be our call and whether we wear masks at practice or not.
Yeah, I think that's and I really like how you put that. It's your call, and I think that's the most important thing that everybody remembers is that kind of, we already know as a nation we're a bit divided and have been. This is our opportunity to maybe do it a little better again, and there are great people in the SCA that we all can do it better again, and it is your call. It's there's always going to be a little bit of that want to be around friends, but how safe you feel, again, that goes down to you making that call and safety around how you feel, make sure. I know a number of people that have kids that are not going to come out right away either. They're going to come out in time, and some others still wearing masks and things. I think that's a big part of still being okay with not, with still following or finding your safe space. And I think you got to respect the people that are trying to find that safe space. And we have to be respectful of people making their own decisions. So, and that's how we, kind of get things going again. Thorfin, you had something.
Yeah, I really I agree with you a lot on that. Let's not make those people that decide to wear masks feel uncomfortable, or the ones that don't. Right?
Yes.
We're all moving forward on this idea that we're all going to be, vaccinated and things like that, and people that are making their decisions about their vaccinations too. But I mean, let's make sure that even by state and local region rules, when we come face to face with those people, if they're still wanting to wear those masks, let them wear the mask. Don't make it a thing, right? Allow us to all get comfortable again. I'll be honest with you, when I go to the store, and I'm in California now, and we don't have mask mandate anymore, right? I still feel like when I see those people, I'm like, there's a little bit of like a weird connectivity thing. Let everyone kind of ease into this, because this is like an unprecedented thing that we're encountering, and it's okay that they get to have that. Don't make it weird for them, and if just let it go. It's okay.
There's one thing that I think we're going to see a lot of is a huge variance in, it's not going to be just mask or no mask. You're going to have people who, depending on the size of the practice or how much it's been flaring up in their local area, might wear a mask, or they wear a mask until they actually put on their hat and decide to go fight away from other people. It's going to be a huge, just a huge spectrum, and we've got to be respectful across with whatever people are comfortable with.
Yeah.
I think the big piece on that is just letting people try to find the way they're going to enjoy having fun. There are people that can't get the vaccine at all. They still want to come and have fun. They will try to, you may find that they mask or don't mask, or, go outside, may not do indoor stuff yet. There are those that are immune compromised because they're on certain medications or on chemo. And they have to find their safe place. I think what we are seeing locally in our area is that outdoors, there's a lot of people that feel pretty safe outdoors, but we're probably not going to start up our indoor stuff very fast, like our arm rings and our ANS things, unless we can do those outside. The good part is, we got some months before it's winter here, or at least in the north or northeast and stuff, so in that time, we're going to hopefully see less and less cases, and we can get truly back to normal. But this is a great start. I look forward to just trying to get people out and seeing my friends again. So on that point, so let's so actually, before I get to the point, Thorfin, how was your first practice?
Man, I got to tell you, it was great, actually. I don't know if it was just the concept that we were locked down for so long that caused people that had kind of drifted away from fighting to come back to practice. But I had recently just moved to a new area, and I got to tell you, there were 16 fighters my first practice back, and about 22 the second, and it's amazing. It's super important, I think, to be supportive of those guys coming back, right? Because I'm seeing guys that have not put on armor in 3, 4, 5 years coming back, and they're wanting to do it again. And I think that this is a great opportunity for us to reconnect with those people. And if we can just remember, we're all we're all starting off at this base level again. Let's all move forward together and support each other. I think it's going to be really great. I thought it was exceptional. Much more than I expected, actually, to be honest with you.
So here's a question for you, I guess. You had all those people. Did you do anything special to get all of those people back, or how did you advertise that you guys are starting again?
Yeah, I think that really what I think something that all groups could do is we did like a lot of like the local seneschal and the marshal reached out to people through email and things like that, really letting people know when this was going to open up again, and it worked really well. Okay. And so I think that just being supportive, and also I think there was a lot of like kind of just calling that friend that you have, and saying like, hey, you want to go to practice? I was doing that. Like I had a couple guys that I was working with like one-on-one, like kind of a COVID bubble, right? That I said, hey, we're going to start doing these practices again. And that turned into, 3 or 4 extra people. And so like they contacted someone. So I think that was a lot of it. I think that just reaching out and saying like, hey, we're still here. And also, come out and have fun with doing this thing that you love doing. Yeah. And I think that made a big difference. And so, I would say that was a big part of it. The local groups definitely did great outreach to all of the, their websites and things like that. So if we take advantage of that, I think there's an opportunity to get those people back.
Nicolina, how are you guys kind of communicating with people?
So for the most part, it's been just call up your friends and go, hey, where are you? Or are you coming tonight? Like was mentioned before. We've also had a huge influx of newcomers, which I didn't see coming, but like we're almost having to call to other groups to bring other experienced fighters in because we've got almost more newcomers than we have authorized fighters. And so in that one, that was just our people talking to their friends over the pandemic, like, yeah, we'll call you up when practice starts. And then when practice started, they called them up and boom, I think we've got 6 in the last 2 weeks. And that's a small practice.
But that's a great start.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I guess on that point, one of our first points, and you guys fed that point perfectly, is actively poking people. I think, I think when we look at it, and I spend a lot of effort, usually not only kind of poking people using Messenger, personal friends, people I know that are in the fight community, people I know that normally come to practice. In the past, I hadn't been doing it for a year because we haven't had to. And I did create some groups, specific groups, and said, hey, we did something called driveway coffee, and we did a lot of drills that were all, at the time outside, and everybody could do drills 10 feet apart pretty easy. So we had that going, but we're right at that point. I'm posting stuff back out in my Facebook groups, and I'm starting to realize, and that the hard part is a lot of these people fell off those groups, right? Because they no reason to go there. The algorithm that Facebook uses doesn't feed back in. So I think one thing that's important for people to remember to, like Thorfin talks about, reach out to your friends. Think of the people that show up practice that make your practice better, right? Or that makes your time better, and hit them up. That personal contact with people becomes huge. Just knowing that, somebody's thinking about you, and if they can't make it this weekend, because tell you the truth, people filled in that time with other stuff. So, but reach out to them. Also tagging people. If you're going to start putting posts out for your practice, think of everyone you can think of and tag them. So you get them coming back to those groups again. So that algorithm starts working for them again, so they can see what they're missing. And we'll talk a little bit more about other things you can do on that in a second. Thorfin, you had a question.
Yeah, I've said this in the past, but having like the idea of the workout partner, your workout buddy, right? This works from everything from like going to events, like getting yourself off the couch, to a practice even. And what I'm talking about is the idea that you have a person that you can rely on who is expecting you to be there, right? But also they're relying on you to be there. And so you're their prop, right? You're propping them up, they're propping you up. And this oftentimes the magnetic weight of the couch can be broken by just having a person that you feel obligated to go and work with. So having that workout partner or workout partners, even better if you get more. But I'm going to tell you, like, this is going to get you off the couch. It's going to go to practice. It's going to get you to go out to the Pell. It's going to get you to go to those events. Having that person that that you can, like, let's say to yourself, oh shit, Daniel's doing his 100 blows tonight. I'm doing my 100 blows tonight, right? This is an enormous gift that you can give, to yourself. And I highly recommend finding those workout buddies, the ones that are going to drive you. So. I gotta have a
Right.
better end sentence because I think that I always kind of like end and everyone's like,
No, it's okay. It's all good. You know, I think um I guess here's Nicola, do you guys do anything like, do you post up or like any special activities at practice to try to get people to come back? Do you announce special activities? How do you get that information out?
So we've been using primarily Facebook and just posting in our group and then sharing it around. I think our very first practice back, I did a returning to rapier / rapier 101 for both for people getting back into it who haven't picked up a sword in 18 months. Well, maybe not that long, but, and as well as all these newcomers. And that really helped. And I think, especially since it kept the first practice somewhat slow and it wasn't people going at 100% straight off the bat, that really helped keep expectations realistic and save me some paperwork because nobody nuked each other.
Yeah, that's going to be another subject we bring. I know for our practices in the past, and we're gonna do it again, and that is we started posting like a list of people that was at practice. So I'd post a date and then a list of everybody was there, so that, you know, what it helped us with was people could look and say, oh, that my buddy was there and I didn't go. I'd love to see that guy or whatever, right? And or wow, there's like that many nights at practice, I need to get back. So, you know, I missed a great practice. And, you know, and then slowly what that helped us do is kind of get those people to reprioritize their time. And that worked for us. And we've probably been doing that for almost 20 years now, I think. But lately in the past 5 years or so, we've been also taking pictures at practice. So we'll take a picture of everybody that's there and we'll take a picture and post it up. And usually we make all ours kind of fun and goofy, but we got a huge response to that. And everybody's like, hey, look, not only are these people there, but oh my God, it looks like they're having a blast. They're having fun, you know, they're doing stuff. And you know, we, at the end of one of the years, somebody grabbed all those pictures and turned it into a calendar. And so it's been a lot of fun just kind of doing that. That came from one of our younger fighters that was probably there for the first, like, I think 2 or 3 weeks in, he's like, hey, take a selfie with me. And I'm like, what? You know, and then he posted it up and everybody, you know, and I was like, this is a great idea. And I think it's another way to get people back to your practice and I have another night in the room. We're up north for the holiday, and he's checking me. Nicolina, I apologize. I keep saying it wrong, and he's like, "You said it wrong." So he's helping me out.
Okay, wait. Can I ask how your co-night there? How to say it right, so I don't say it wrong?
There you go. Look what he did for me.
Oh.
Am I correct?
This is Sir Balthazar.
Thanks, buddy.
Fabulous.
I mad respect. So you know, what you were talking about just now,
Yeah.
The first fighter practice back we had 9 chivalry out of 15, right?
Wow.
Which was, I thought, in like they came out of the woodwork, right? But the second one we had 22 people with around the same number. So what I was starting to see is by us reaching out and making that contact, like you talked about, right, is important to let everyone know. It's not just about the chivalry coming back. It's not about that. It's about all of us coming back. And I think that there was a big connect there. And so as long as we keep reaching out and saying, like, you know, hey, you over there, remember practice, right? It was really fascinating to see such a growth in 1 week. Well, excuse me, I was gone for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we saw the growth like that.
No, and that's great. How many people do you normally have fight practice?
Okay, well, now I just moved to the area. And now I used to be in the Central West, which was probably one of the biggest groups, and we had very little. I had to start my own practice to get people to come. And then COVID started and it killed that practice. And so when I moved here, I thought, well, that seems to be the dynamic. What I'll do is I'll go and I'll start my own practice and people will come, right? But there's 2 local practices here that are very well attended. And so it was a big deal for me to not decide to start my own practice. I had to say to myself, let your own ego go, and instead of stealing away from those local groups that have been doing so well, go and support them. And so that's what I'm doing, is I switched to that. And I'm going to start doing maybe every 2 months seminar in my backyard. But really, I'm just going to make sure I focus on the local groups and the growth there and my own personal growth.
Well, and we'll skip a couple topics and we'll come back to them. And I think
Let's jump ahead.
No, it's perfectly fine because it naturally built into this topic, and that is, lots of people started their own private practices because we couldn't have practices, and we couldn't talk about it on Facebook, and we couldn't do it, right? So we had COVID groups, we had vaccinated groups, we had unvaccinated groups, or people that didn't care, and when I say didn't care, it's not as a bad thing, just they were okay with that. And how do we, I think this is the place that we really have to work on bringing all of that back together.
I agree.
Because I think that, and we were talking a little bit of this offline, I think you can have all of those practices, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that does in a minute. But one thing it does is it sometimes pulls away from your group, and really without an SCA group, because if you really get to that point that your SCA group goes away, then it's very difficult to have any practice at all, no matter if it's a private one, because you just start losing people. And really, we're here because of the SCA. You went to a meeting and you got in. You had a practice that was a SCA practice, and people pulled you in and helped you. And I think that's a big part of trying to pull all of these people back together. Don't care why they did it or anything else. Pull them back together under the guidelines that are in place now, and just go back to having fun time.
Yeah.
Nicolina, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, we've had quite a few different groups doing exactly that. And the interesting thing coming back has also been, it was over a year, these groups picked up newer fighters. And so much of it has been bringing them in, and yes, they know how to fight, but the adjusting them to the overall SCA culture. You've got somebody who's been fighting almost a year and goes, "What's an event?"
Right.
We're like,
weird.
How did that not come up? And so just teaching them, how do we treat the princess? And there's gonna be a learning curve of where you have to go, okay, this person that in my head has been around a while does not know how to SCA. And making sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part. And you nailed that one, because no matter what we have as a culture, we're going to go to events and practice these things. This is why we do this, right? And I think that getting that variety of the SCA and all the different culture of the SCA is very important to keeping our group healthy and moving forward. So, I had a couple that we had COVID and had practices, and then we have another group that was small, just doing drills and things like that, and we had other groups around that started doing some stuff as well. But I think the goal, once I know for me, one of those goals is to bring all that back together again, and so that everybody can help each other. So I think on that note, we just have to be open and supportive, and I'm really hoping that, like you've seen, that we have a lot of new people. I know we have, I bet you right now, like 5 or 6 new people that came out during COVID and just waiting. We've had them in our Zooms all the time. We have a weekly armoring Zoom. They just come in and everybody hangs out. And we've had some others that have come to the drill stuff. and they're all just waiting. And it gives me hope that we can do it. My biggest concern is getting my old friends back as well. So,
Sure.
Thorfin, you had something.
Yeah, I don't know. I was saying, like, I was thinking about the retention thing, right? But we, even at my last practice, which was just a couple nights ago, there was a guy who we met who had waited the entire COVID to come to his first practice. He encountered the SCA at a Northern Highlands Games type thing, right? But it was just still in his, you know, kind of spirit that he wanted to do this activity, and he came up to me. And so I have a kind of a loaner armor, what I call like a loaning library for armor, where they can check out pieces of armor, and then when they get their own stuff, they put mine back, kind of idea. And it was fascinating to see a guy who had spent that much time away from our activity, but so fired up to do it that he sought me out there. And so there are people out there, and, you know, and we should be, you know, we should be really actively looking for them right now, because that would be really great to get a bunch of new people, right? And like you said, though, Brannos, I've also done the opposite and reached out to my friends that are old timer SCA guys. And I was seeing guys at practice that I haven't seen in 5 or 6 years, even at an event. And so I think there's a lot of, like, being isolated like that. They remembered the fun and the good parts. And let's be, if we're on ground level, let's be supportive of that for them. I think that's great. And let me see what I'll say. Oh, I'll talk about it later. But
Okay.
I got another.
So, you know, let's hop back this one topic. We kind of lay some topics in, and I'm going to hop back one, and let's talk about that. This is an opportunity to actually rebuild your practice as well, right? And I think this is, you know, a lot of times we have a practice that's going forever, and it just stays the same, and it just keeps driving forward like a Mack truck or a train, and it never changes. And you know, we had a break in the track for a while. So, you know, we now have maybe we have another way we can make that change. And over COVID, we've had a ton of training things out there, people doing drills. We had, you know, thanks to Vesper, we had a channel that had all of this content on it. And we got to meet people, and and meet virtually. And we made a lot of new friends, because the only way we could talk with people virtually in a way. But, you know, this is opportunity to make some change, not only with yourself, but also, you know, inside your practice. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to make change when or a number of people see it just working. But when you have a break, I think there's nothing wrong with going back and saying, you know, we've been doing all these drills. Can I add some of these drills to practice? Can we add some stretching to practice? Because I've been doing yoga through the whole COVID. Or can we add some footwork drills to practice? Because, you know, Brannos has been working my ass off every Sunday, or, you know, that kind of thing. And those are the kinds of things maybe you show up an hour early and do those. Right. And then you go into a normal practice, maybe show up a half hour early and find the people that really want to do it, grab a couple of them, and then offer it to others as they come. Maybe you would just have a class in the middle of practice, you know, that allows you to kind of change the idea of practice around a little bit. Because to tell you the truth, it's a chance to do that. And adding some of that freshness sometimes it really revitalizes your practice and or your SCA group itself. Nicolina, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, so that has actually been a topic of discussion in my local groups here, because we've got 2 groups that are very close together, and so we go back and forth quite a bit. And some people have been, yes, we want more structure, we want classes, and we want instruction. And there's been a lot of people who are like, nope, I would hate that. And so much of it has just been talking to the people who go to the individual practices and playing it by ear. And some weeks everybody just wants to pick up their swords and fight. And sometimes people are like, yeah, I really want some direction. And so, you know, as the marshal, that's kind of tricky a little bit sometimes, because I don't know which of those groups I'm going to show up to. So I make sure that I've got a class in my back pocket if, you know, that's the group that shows up. And we do occasionally, especially like that first time, we do advertise classes occasionally, but it's just being flexible and seeing what the people that show up want today.
Thorfin, you have anything?
Yeah. Okay. So over the last like 4 or 5 months of working with you guys on this project, we've talked a lot about the idea of maybe that practices could fundamentally change. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reach out to people and start kind of chipping away at the old traditional, you only have to practice like this, right? And so instead what I'm doing is like now when I meet up with a guy at practice, I say like, or a person at practice, I say, well, what are your goals tonight? What is your victory goals, right? I mean, what are you working on? Because practice is for working on things. It's not about winning fights. It's about improving your martial art, right? So I say to them, what are we working on tonight? And then I can help them, focus on that activity. So like a guy that I work with, he is very big and very strong, and all he wants to do is hammer you in like a nail. Like that's all he sees success because he's had success doing this, right? And I'm trying to explain to him like he could become a better fighter if he actually takes them off the strength and moves it into speed and accuracy and things like that, right? And so when he's like, I'm working on not offside and onside type blows, and I'm like, good, okay. Well, when you find yourself not doing that because you're falling back on your muscle memory of just being the guy who hammers everything to the ground, stop the fight. Say, hey, I'm working on this, right? Allow yourself to be able to work on projects. Like what you're doing is it's a big project, your entire training experience. And so work on your goals, and having this communication is different than it used to be. We didn't have that, right? You'd go to practice and guys were just banging around. You'd fight a guy, and then over time you'd be like, okay, well, that happened. And then you were working on something, but you never even talked to each other about what you were working on, right? It's okay to have this type of thing. It's okay to set the practice up for each type of person as well. Like Nicolina was saying that, there are people that don't want to come to do drills and stuff like that. Fine. Let them go bang it out over here. It's okay for you to set up a group over here on the set of practice and say, we're going to go through these drills. And the way we restructure this thing and the way we kind of change the way practices work is to actually fundamentally work at the bottom and change them, right? Because if we don't, it's going to be the same thing again. We're going to go back to the comfortable, you just fight and then, that's it. Instead, make that change. Don't be afraid to make that change. Don't be afraid to say like, we are going to go over here. If you don't want to be over here, that's fine. We're going to be doing footwork drills so that way, Brannos taught us how to whoop your ass, right? So that's all we're asking, right? If you want to go over here, knock yourself out, but you're welcome over here.
And I think even on that note, one of the pieces, and you said this, start from the bottom up, and the bottom might be you. It might be, hey, I'm not the knight, I'm not running classes, but I know what I would like to do, and let me ask if they would do that for me, and if others might be interested, right? Because that ground up scenario, believe me, most of the people knights at practice, they love fighting. I get that, right? And that same thing crosses over into fencing. Although I most of my time in the fencing community, they love fighting just as much as we do. But they seem to spend a little bit more time on teaching, especially when it gets into period techniques and things like that, what I've seen. But, on going back to the base is I had to change a lot of things in the past couple of years just because I had a squire that was like, I can't learn the way you're teaching this. Yeah. I need it this way. But she was very communicative up. So and now I look and I say, thank God she did that for me, because it made me look at training a whole different way, and really helped me be a better trainer and coach. And I was lucky. But you may be surprised that sometimes they're just waiting for somebody to ask So ask. This is the time to ask. It's like, hey, I've been gone away a long time. I'd like to get footwork better, or I've been gone a long time. Can we go through these specific sword blows one at a time? If you ask, you may be surprised. I mean, they'd be like, oh, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Let's get more people to do that. That way I don't have to teach you today and the other guy tomorrow and the other guy the next day. I just get everybody together. We'll do a quick class. And then we'll do an evaluation. In fact, after we're going to evaluate, and we're going to write A, B, and C, D, and E even. And I did this for my squire, and that way she could kind of get a feel what things she had to work on. And then a month later, we do it again, and she'd see how she practiced work those and how she felt. I'd have her grade herself, and then I would grade her, and we'd talk. And I tell her how I saw it, and she would tell me how she felt, and that's what we work. That's the communication piece. So I think that's a big part of changing practice. We're going to jump over to. I'm going to jump to a hard one here, and that is, what happens if you lost your sight? This is probably one thing I'm concerned with. Obviously, especially in areas that have colder climates, we have to find indoor sites in winter. And
I see.
After COVID, this is, and even outdoor sites are a little more picky on, do I want to take that chance, especially as a business or whatever. For us, they could have put something on our day already, because they knew we weren't coming. And, been practicing in a church in Detroit for 30 years. They redid their basement where we practice. I don't know what that's going to mean.
Right.
So, this is one of those things that you have to get on pretty quickly. And my suggestion is to talk to everybody in the group about it, to make sure first they're aware that there may be a problem. And then later, how we might resolve that problem. Nicolina, did you guys just go back to your normal practice site?
So considering it was a park, yes. We lucked out in that aspect, but our winter site is a hospital.
Oh.
So we that's not looking promising for being able to go back. And since it's Salt Lake City, there's no outdoor winter sites. So right now we're just pretty much going, put out the feelers and ask everybody to be looking around. And it's faith at this point.
Yeah. No, and I get that concern. And a lot of places are lucky they have places they can go right now. We fight in a park in the summer, so we're pretty good. Our second practice was usually at my place. That may change, especially I had some job change stuff. So there's just going to be change, and change is not always easy, but sometimes change is good. So, you have to take a look at it that way. But what I'd say is just don't put off the inevitable trying to find stuff now, because you may find that the place you normally use isn't open anymore. Thorfin.
Yeah, so what we're running into out here is that we have kind of good weather all the time, thanks to global warming. But many of the bigger sites that we would use for crown tournaments or larger events are not actually staffed. They're not even bothering, because what if there's a surge again, right? And then they can't, so we're running into the difficulty to find large sites that even have events at, which is, crazy. Now, locally for us, it's very easy because we have a lot of parks and the weather here is really mild all the time. I really fret about those places like you guys out there, when winter time is going to come and it's going to change everything for you guys. For us, it'll be basically no big deal. I mean, we're going to be at the same park, and it'd be a little bit colder, wear a sweater, right? But I wonder how you guys are going to deal with that. I mean, society-wide, excuse me, I think that you're going to find there's a lot of places that aren't actually reserving sites because of COVID still. And and we're running into it here. We're trying to plan a year's calendar, And it's becoming very difficult for us to find any sites that, even the ones that we used to work with like 2 or 3 times a year. So it's a whole thing. Just I don't know how to say it. Like hang on and be patient. I think everyone's working really hard on this, but
So, here's another, before we jump into a whole different topic, but here's another piece on that. And that is, what happens if you've lost kind of the people that ran practice.
yeah.
You lost some of the major people that, used to be teachers, used to be mentors. Maybe you lost your Earl Marshal or your marshal of your practice, those are all things that, also really affect your practice. Now, the good part is, I will have to say, I have seen, and I am so proud of so many young unbelts and motivators and young teachers that have stepped up and it's like, let's do something different. This is the time, we can't run a normal practice, so let's do something different. And they stepped up and made it happen. And I see this in Atlantia, where it's like, there's people stepped up and made a site happen and made it all work, and they keep making it work. I've seen it in a number of other areas, and it's funny because it isn't even the Knights that are doing it. It's literally somebody. It's very much like what Vesper did here for us. She stepped up and she made stuff happen, and
Yeah, it was amazing, right?
yeah, and I've been watching and seeing a lot of these people, and we're lucky because a lot of them sit and watch watch the Coach's Corner stuff all the time, and they've been learning. They've been coming to drill sessions, and they have questions, and I get a lot of questions, and I so look forward to the next generation of teachers. I think it's going to make us all look bad. But I'm okay with that. Because I feel like I helped that much, so it's a good feeling. But I am very proud of the people that did that. In the comments, there's a number of people talk about how they're changing practices already, and by adding some drills or adding other SCA activities like dance and things like that into them, or monthly fight practice or a monthly tournament, or structuring practice better and communicating that out. Those are all ways to make those things happen, and it doesn't take a Duke to run a practice.
Right. Can we please break that construct?
Yeah, because they're really not the ones you want to run.
That construct so hard. I hate that.
Nicolina.
Actually, we've been working on that for a while. The fact that I'm the marshal of my local group, and it's actually an unusual thing, because the culture has been for a while, the peers don't need the experience and the visibility that you get from having an office. It's definitely not below us, but it's the up and coming fighters that need that experience of being able to run a practice and holding an office. And so usually, if at all possible, I'll defer to someone else who has the experience necessary, but they're not there, but they might not have a white collar or a white belt.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's awesome.
I agree. And their information is 100% valid, right? So if that person has the ability to do that activity, for God's sake, let's support them on this idea. Like, you don't have to be, it's backwards thinking to think that achievement equals value, right? And so if a person is good enough to do the thing, let them fucking do it, right? We should do. We should support them on these things instead of like, well, you're not this guy, you never want a crown. Who cares? But can you actually do like the training? Well, then that's the person who should do the training, right? I think that's super important, that we should break down these dynamics, that it has to be success oriented.
Yeah, along that route, I think comes up the one of the next topics we have, and that is we have, and Nicolina, you brought this topic up, that we have a lot of new people, or so you guys have a significant number of new people that are like, SCA? What's that? What's a tournament? What's royalty, right? I think there's also, we're kind of walking back into, we have different weirder social dynamics going to be happening, even, just because, I used to be able to sit and drink with somebody and hang out and work with next to them. And, they showed up when somebody needed moving, and now we've been separated, and socially, maybe we didn't even know how far away apart we were in different ways, but now we have to come back together. And I think that's going to be a really hard part for everybody to try to come back together. We're going to have new people that are coming out. We're going to have older people coming out that had been out for a long time. We're going to have new people that moved to town. So we have a lot of different social pieces coming back together. And I think the piece to remember is it's not the same SCA anymore. And we have to just try again. And the one piece that we always try is to try to enhance our group constantly and make everybody feel comfortable together. And I think that's going to be a really important part of socially all of these different groups coming back together. Nicolina, did you have obviously you had the young new people coming in. How's all that been working?
It's been going really great, and there have been some bumps for sure. Also, probably one of the biggest things I've seen is because last year was very socially and politically divisive, and there were a lot of people that haven't seen each other since they had a huge fight on Facebook.
Yeah.
And just being patient and listening. Mm-hmm. Is a huge thing, just because sometimes not having face-to-face interaction has caused some issues that never got resolved. And so we're going to have to overcome that. And especially with social changes, figure out who are we now?
Yeah. And I think that's a big part is, who are we now? Because you're 100% right there, because we're going to be different, and things changed. It was a hard year for a lot of people. A lot of people changed jobs. A lot of people lost people, not necessarily of COVID, but just normally that loss that happens. A lot of people just burnt out on all the negativity. And as bad as everybody wants to make this look, I am a much better person having a chance to have met so many different people from so many different cultures that I would never got to meet, that it made me a better person. And I think that's what we need to keep looking at, is keep looking at being able to talk to people and understand people better. I understand, believe me, they were just making fun of me the other day because I have no understanding of they were like, hey, they gave me a little paragraph to read, and it was all this new slang, and it's like, so we're going to go out on the battlefield and throw shade. And I'm like shade isn't a shade on the side of the field, and of course everybody's laughing, and they had a whole thing of it. I had no clue what I was talking about that I had to read through, but it's that kind of thing. They're having fun. I like when people have fun. And through it, I got to learn a bunch of new kind of fun stuff. And I got, it's that thing that makes everybody have kind of come together. I'm not just, hey, there's Duke Brannos. We got to be, got to bow and do all this crazy stuff. We can all come down and learn from each other in lots of different ways. And I asked a lot of young people a lot of questions, because sometimes I just don't understand why they do stuff. And I've had great answers, and now I have a better understanding of why they do stuff, and it's made me a better person. So that's that part about different cultures and different people coming together. It's an opportunity to learn. Thorfin.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, number one, we're all nerds.
Yes.
Everyone in this club's a fucking nerd, right? And so there's some kind of nerd that you can identify with. So we need to stop thinking this guy's a different type of nerd. We're all the same nerds. It's okay. Give them a big fat nerd hug, right? I don't understand that kind of like, this person's different than this person. I never have, and I don't really care about that. And what I want to do is I want to be supportive of everyone having a good time in our nerd club. And so come be part of it, right? I mean, for God's sakes, it's not gonna change, the world, but maybe change your life. Like my best friends in this group, like matter of fact, the best friends I've ever made in my life are in this club, right? And they're very different than maybe that guy over there has experienced in the SCA, but we have a connectivity that all of us have. And so, when you see those new people or the people you haven't seen in a while, just reach out. It's not going to hurt anything. We all had existed, inside of the society that we were in for a long time before all these problems. It's really hard for someone to say that hateful shit that they say to each other online to someone's face. No one does that, right? And so what we need to do is like remember to have social graces and talk to each other and treat each other the same way that you would in person as we do online, right? And you'll find that the differences are very small, and everything is going to be okay. And that person over there loves whatever, and you love whatever. But all in all, that commonality that you're a fucking nerd and you're in this club is going to make it all work out. So stop being so negative to each other and just be like, okay, we're cool, and move forward. We're all moving forward. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. And I think on that note, remember too, you don't have, just like anything else, you don't have to go fight someone if you don't want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
You don't have to be somebody's best buddy if you don't want to be their best buddy. Right. But we have to treat each other respectful.
Absolutely.
So the next subject is a bit more on the, practice is starting back up again. And some people, started working out in COVID. Some people started running in COVID. Some people found activities in COVID. Some people found a couch has, as somebody put it, a magnetic ability to stick your butt in it. And so, there's change coming, because I'm going to tell you, you can go run 10 miles and it's going to help you because you're athletically better maybe than you were before COVID. But it may not as help your fighting as much as you think it's gonna. Same thing goes for everybody to hit a Pell through it. You may find that you can throw a shot, but now you're used to standing in front of a Pell, right? So there's a lot of, just remember to give yourself, and I'm gonna kind of shoot down and post something so these guys know. Let's see what Sean posted to us when we're coming up with ideas for this episode. He wanted to make sure that that everybody knew it was essentially okay to not be great when you first start back.
It's okay to suck,
right? Because you may be physically better shape and everything, and that will help, no doubt. But that interaction in a fight, that distance in a fight, that especially when we're in rapier and things like that, that understanding of that range control, it starts breaking down when you don't do it a lot. And a Pell doesn't move,
right?
And it's so there's going to be some weaknesses there. There may be, Nick. God, I had this, Nicolina. So I'm going to ask you specifically in a second if you had these problems, but you may be throwing when you're too close, you may be throwing when you're too far. So, but don't get caught up in those little details. The big pieces, go forward and fix them and keep doing it, because what's happening, and this is something that Sean wanted to know, is a lot of the common things that base understanding and that base mental feel of what you're going to do. It's like, okay, I know how to throw a shot, right before I left, I knew how to throw the shot. And then I come back, I haven't thrown it for a year. And now it's being thrown a different way. Well, internally, that was ingrained in one way, and you haven't changed it yet. That just means you have to be aware of it and continue working on it, and give yourself a break. Don't get down on yourself. All of those kinds of things. So Nicolina, what did you see in the rapier community as far as calibration, movement, control? How did that all come together?
We definitely had some pretty hard shots starting out at the beginning, especially both just being out of practice, and a lot of people were having to watch their temper because they were getting frustrated at themselves with, I'm not fighting the way that I feel like I should be. And but on the other hand, we actually had a lot of people were able to look at their fight in a new way. Mine was definitely, we were talking about range. There's one of my friends, we fight every week, but I haven't fought him in 6 months because of the pandemic. The problem I always had before was he would jump right out of range, right when I threw the shot every time. And I like coming back to it and paying attention to my range was like, why don't I get closer before I throw a shot at him? Like, duh. And there were so many things that I was stuck in a rut mentally about, because this is the way we do, right? That coming back, it was like, why did I do it that way? Probably the biggest difficulty for me was being able to do that like 100% speed, because I haven't been going at full pace against my Pell, which I thought I was, but I get out there and I start fighting somebody. I'm like, I'm gonna throw the shot 100% fast as I can. And the muscles go, what? So that was just something I had to deal with. Like, okay, that speed isn't there right now. Hopefully it'll come back. And it did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of those types of things do come back pretty fast. And I really like the idea that you're like, I can look outside what I normally did and now kind of take a new look at it, because you're not just constantly, again, like that same thing, constantly like moving forward without getting an outside look. And now you had that break and you're like, why don't I just get closer? This would work. Thorfin.
Well, I gotta take my glasses off again.
Yes. Oh, you got some deep thought.
So deep. No, I had a student talk to me this last week about the fact that her Pell wasn't doing exactly what she thought it was going to do. And when we came back to live practice, so she had spent the entire time doing Pell work, and which commendable, right? But suddenly the Pell was a 3D target moving in different directions. And she was like, well, why won't my goddamn Pell stay where it's at? And so this is a thing that, as we come back to practice, we're going to find that opponents will do things which will kind of trigger different ideas, but also you're going to find, hold on, I wrote this down, I think. Let me, glasses back on. So oftentimes a break is going to allow you to have this kind of disconnect between bad habits and good habits. So you'll find that having a hurt elbow or whatever the thing that caused you to be injured, when you come back, your body wants to go into these kind of reflexive muscle memory stuff, right? But oftentimes it sheds all the crap that wasn't actually working, right? And so your body allows you to then, kind of find your neutral ground on your attacks. And I think that at that point, it's kind of like a reset that we're allowing ourselves to have, where you can then do this organically without having to, be hurt, for God's sake. Let's hold this up now. But I would love to see like people like take this opportunity to say like, this bad habit that I had, I can shed that now because I haven't done it a year and a half or whatever, right? So this is a really great opportunity for you to focus on. I love to hammer on this, your fundamental skills, right? Get those fundamental skills down so that way you can then present yourself to any fight. And what I mean by that is if it's not working for you and you'll figure it out, just shed those things and move into being able to do your fundamental skills.
Yeah.
Glasses back.
Nope, that's awesome. I think I think that you covered it really well in that same thing. You're kind of you're shackled in one time, and you're just kind of working, plowing forward, and that freed you of those, and it allows you to move forward. And I'm just going to ask a question in our comments. How many people feel like they came back with better ideas, or a better fighting better, or and because physically they're in better shape, or maybe because they watched a bunch of or did a bunch of drills and things like that maybe they didn't do in past. And I was just going to post that online in a second. But I think both of you really covered a good piece there, and that is, this is the opportunity. We talk about change how practice works. Well, we can also change how we do, how we look at practice, and how we look at learning something. Maybe it's time to break away from I just go fight and that's how I learn. And there are a lot of people that learn that way. Believe me, when 30 years ago, that's about the only way you did learn. So, but I think now I know for a number of people who are like, I've never thought of these things. I've never thought about what pressure does, and I've never thought about what range does. And I posted an article today on my personal page about breath and making noise, and how that affects how you fight. And these are all things that help you understand. And we got to actually kind of time to go through those articles and go through those videos and think about how it works with us. And that goes a long way to being a smart fighter and a better teacher in the long run. And I know that on my Sundays, the one thing I keep telling them, and I get a great group of people, is that I want to make them better fighters, but really in the end, I want to make them smarter fighters and better teachers. Because I tell you, there's teaching, being able to teach somebody something really helps you understand it better. So let's jump into setting realistic expectations. Nicolina, we'd started talking about this. Let's go back to Sean's theory here. I'm sure you've had that ramrodded down your throat so many times. You have it by heart now. So you tell us what it is, and on your side, and how Sean has it all.
Review victory conditions.
Yes.
So pretty much the most simplified version of it is victory conditions is choosing before any practice, event, tournament, whatever, what you must do in order to call that session victorious. And it has to be something that you have control over. So me going out and going, I'm going to win this tourney is really a setup to fail victory condition, even if there's a decent chance of me doing it. Instead, I would go, I want to make sure that this new thing I've been working on, that I'm consistently doing it. And for a newer fighter, it might be show up to practice, put on your gear, and fight 3 times. It doesn't have to be anything huge and impressive.
So here's a question for you. What was a victory condition for you getting back to SCA practices?
Very first time around, it was more like the newcomer victory condition of show up and don't be stupid, stretch, and do everything in my power to not hurt myself.
Perfect.
As I've been moving on.
Way better than mine.
What's that?
Yeah, it was way better than mine. I was like, I didn't even think about the stretching and the don't hurt myself part. That was really good. I was like, really good.
Oh, and since then, it's been things like I've actually learned to treat myself with the patience that I would have for my students or for a newer fighter. Of when my scholar goes out and starts fighting me, I go out and I fight her, and for a minute I figure out where she's at, and she might be in her head, but I'm going, no, we're addressing who you are today, and that's okay with me. And I'm not frustrated with her if she's struggling with something or if she's not moving as fast as she thinks she should. So being able to grant myself that patience to go out, fight a few times, see where I'm at, and then determine what I need to work on in order to become better has been very freeing and very difficult. But it's helped a lot, and I think it's going to improve my overall fighting experience going forward.
Yeah, I tell you, you nailed it on all spots for me. I really like that conversation. Thorfin, what do you think?
Man, yeah, absolutely. I cannot begin to stress to people when they come back from a break or injury or whatever it is to stop projecting where you were onto where you are today, right? And so I like to talk about it. Today is where you're at, and don't get trapped in this. It's because it's a trap, guys. You're going to get trapped in this idea that of achievement or whatever you had before, and instead, today I'm working on this. I'm happy that I'm doing these activities. If you can just shed that thing, it's a like a ghost that'll follow you, right? Instead, just go, it's okay that today is where I'm at, right? And move forward. We're all moving forward at practice. So don't let these past things affect where you're at today. So today I'm here. Tomorrow, maybe I'm here, right? It's okay to move forward. And I got to tell you, don't get trapped in this idea that there's some kind of past achievement you need to do. Just enjoy where you're at. And a key to everything we do is have fun fighting, right? If you're not having fun fighting, stop fighting, right? But don't let that thing be the anchor that drags you down. That's all.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more, man. It's, Nicolina, I really liked your last comments, and they sank in. I really like that they found the kind of the golden lining around what a terrible time was, and you're using that and moving forward and making other, not only your own SCA career and wants, those needs of learning, but better, but also other people's, because you can understand better. I think that goes such a long way, and that's one of those core principles that I think everyone should really think about it, because you got to remember when I think everybody needs to remember, it's not just you that are stressed, it's other people, and they're not going to say anything, especially if you're the teacher. Most of the times, if you have a student, they don't want to say anything back up, because they feel like they're lucky just to get your time. And that doesn't create a good communication method. And you have to sometimes really go a long way to just pull it out of them. Let them have a bad day, ask them, what they would like to work on. If you've been working with them a long time, find a thing they do well, and go back to doing that so they get some success and they can feel better about it, so that you can move back forward again. And those are all ways to kind of pull that out of people as a good coach and teacher. I think, I think that goes in a long way into setting those realistic expectations of yourself. And that's a real hard one, because I think, especially as you get better and better, that you're like, I want to go back and still be able to beat that guy. Well, problem is that guy may have been doing a bunch of stuff that made him better, right? And it doesn't mean that he's actually better than you. It just may mean that you may build back to the normal little slower than that person does, especially if they're younger. They're like, no big deal, I'll just throw more physicality on it, it's all fixed. And for people that are a little older, it's like, oh, I don't have physicality. In fact, my physicality is worse. So I have to think better, and it sometimes that takes a little more time to do, and then it takes a little more time to get that physicality back, and then in the end you're doing both of those, and it leads you hopefully into a position where you get back to not only where you were, but because that you re-looked at yourself and was able to look and give yourself a break, that you're able to look a different way and grow even more. So I think that's a big part. It's setting those realistic expectations. You know, I know one of mine, even though I practiced all through COVID and practiced really hard. I was working out 4 days a week, fighting twice a week, and fighting being drilling and stuff like that. A little bit of fighting at the beginning. You know, some yoga, which, you know, me doing yoga was fun. But I have no doubt that, you know, those 3-hour practices I used to be able to do, there's no way. I can tell you now, even though I'm in better shape now, that the differences in tension of being against a real opponent and against a fellow are two different things. So I know where my expectations are. I'm going to be happy if my shoulders hold out for, you know, half practice. So and then I'll cry when I get home. That's my expectation. Let's go at the opportunity here, and I'll throw this one out to I'm going to throw this one out to Thorfin first, and that is Thorfin.
Yes.
Resetting your martial art goals. So is coming back just gave you time to kind of take a new look. Is there anything you want to change going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So what allowed me to do was I had a brief moment where I had like a pod member, and he was excellent at footwork, like yourself, your Grace. And so one of those things was I really tried to focus on that. But what's allowing me to do is over this last year and a half is focus on that type of a thing instead of like what I wanted to do was restructure everything about how I do my footwork. So I was a successful footwork fighter before that, but now I wanted to do an entire strip down and start again, right? And you don't normally get that option to do that during like, you know, regular SCA time period, because you have this event next weekend, you know. And so like I talked about earlier, your body mechanics and your kind of muscle memory want to do the things they want to do. So I have had the opportunity to actually focus on things that I would have never had the, you know, 16 months of no one else hitting me to work on. And so I have done that, and I'm hoping that it turns into a successful footwork style. Now I will realize now that I've done 2 practices back, like my student said, I'm not really sure why these pedals keep fucking moving around. I'm not super cool with that. I would like them to stand and allow me to look really sexy while I do this kind of cool side step stuff like that. But I'm working on it, but I am finding it was really nice to have a break that allowed me then to integrate more solidly footwork ideas that were not part of the standard. If I honestly believe that if it would have been like me back in the, you know, like every other practice, it would have taken me substantially longer. So I am seeing like having this nice break allowing me to do these things, and I'm seeing success from it. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I think that was a really nice part of the, you know, COVID breakdown. Other than that, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to apply more like the kind of the coach's corner idea about you know, achievement, like, you know, like practice, like what is my goal this practice. And actually I'm trying to, like I said earlier, I said I'm really working hard to try and sneak that into all the other guys that practice their agendas. I want to try and push that in, you know, like so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Nicolina.
I had an all-out identity crisis on this, partially because I was elevated March 7th, 2020. So I was like the baby mod of the society for several months because the society's shut down like right after my ceremony. And so I not only had the, okay, best laid plans, the schedule is out the window, I also had the, what's this peerage thing going on? And so it has been, it's been overwhelming. And like for example, my objective in that first year had been, okay, we're gonna, go to circle and figure out how to be a mod and all these things. And I still have not been to a circle. And so it ended up being, well, what can I do in the meantime? Well, I've got students who are still wanting to learn things and see how they can keep progressing, and rather than just having to sign off for back then an unknown amount of time. And so that ended up being my focus for the pandemic, was how can I still continue to support them, especially since both of them are out of state. And one of the hardest things that I've seen people having to face is so many people, we know we're not supposed to do this, and I will say don't do this, but so many people have like a goal of, I want to get a white belt by my 35th birthday. I don't know. And since that's something that you have no control over, even if it's just zero, so you can get yourself to a certain point skill wise, but it's up to the crown of whether they recognize you with an award. That's just completely down that road lies insanity to try to set your goals as an award by a certain time. And so I think for a lot of us, it has, in a very good way, knocked those deadlines out of the park, and people are able to look at things a little more, or set better goals that don't involve getting called up into court and handed a scroll.
Nope, that I would agree 100%. I think a lot of us looked in the past on the scrolls as being validation, and by far it's progressing in learning and doing things well, and the scroll is just part of the path. And but if you really look at what you're doing, you should appreciate that, because it carries a lot more weight than the scroll does. And reset martial art goals is an interesting. It's been kind of, Thorfin nailed it on the head. It's very hard to do that because you always want to fall back to the safe place. In other words, oh man, I was beating up this guy all the time until I started trying to do these things. And then that guy hits me a couple of times. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to go right back to doing what I do. Right. And so you throw it out the window. And so be careful of that. Don't get caught up into that. Your learning process is about that dedication to that learning. If, there's test it with those people, and, try not to fall back, or if you do, just make it weird, like, okay, I'm going to go a couple rounds with what I did. But go back and work with, don't apply it on the top guys right away. Work on the people that you can apply it with, people that are working with you, and those things. I'm lucky. I change my goals all the time. And I do a lot of research. I went from static to movement to tension control to, I add a lot of different things all the time, because my goal is to try to be a good fighter. I mean, like one of the best, hopefully. And, that's been a goal since pretty shortly after I joined, and it still is. Had that conversation with Ronvald the other day. Somebody's like, why do you keep changing if your other stuff works? And all we can say is, it's a challenge to try to just find something to try to push you past to another level or another understanding. So keep that in mind. The last one is, coming back to practice. And this is probably going to be the hardest one for almost everybody. We've got new pets, we've got new hobbies, we've got new toys, boats, motorcycles, cars. We've got new friends, we've gotten new, we're on different Zooms all the time. We're running different stuff. I'm on a new game server and I'm doing whatever, there's a million things. But I think the next one is working towards consistency. And that is, many people were really consistent about the SCA being a huge part of their life and doing stuff. And that consistency runs right back into, becoming a better fighter as well. consistently going to practice. Very easy. But we have to get back to it. And I think that's probably the hardest piece. And so I would just challenge people to just say, you know, I'm going to get out once this month and see my friends and talk with them and try to enjoy my time with no huge expectations out of myself. And then we continue work on the more consistent you can get to practices, and the more consistent that you'll see your prowess, no matter what field you're, no matter what you're doing. It could be dance, I don't care. It could be music. The more you do something, more consistent you are, the better you become at it. And this is a big part of getting back to it. And you're not going to be totally consistent. We have lots of people having graduation parties again. Fine. Well, guess what? When those are on the weekend. Lots of people getting married finally because they couldn't. Guess when those are on the weekend. Lots of events starting back up. Well, guess what? Those are on the weekend too. You know, and we can keep going through all of those things. So give yourself, this goes back, give yourself a break. And maybe it's like, I'm overwhelmed. And then next thing you know, you're just like, screw that, I'm not going to do ESC. Say, I'm going to get back to one thing. And then later I'm going to try to get to two things. And then later is like, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to take this Wednesday off and go to practice or whatever. And then build some consistency around it. And that consistency doesn't mean I have to go to 12 practices, a month. It means, hey, I'm going to try to get to maybe 2 or 3 practices a month and an event. And then just keep layering it as you're having fun or you're seeing progress. Then you can keep adding to it until you're back to a very consistent result. Those weddings will slow down, the graduations will be done, and those times will start freeing up and you can start filling in that time. And so don't, and I'm struggling with this, and this is the reason why I bring this up. And it's like, I got all kinds of things planned, and I know the event schedules are going to start back up, and I feel like I don't have enough weekends in a month to do stuff anymore. And I don't want to give any of it up. And it's impossible. So cut yourself a break. So Thorfin.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I started off like the idea that I was going to do like a private practice and all these things. And then really what I'm going to focus on is hitting those local practices. I'm going to try and do, and this is trying to do 2 a week. And I haven't practiced 2 a week in a very long time. But I think to learn right now for me, or not really learn, but to reinvigorate. And also I have a lot to give out. And so I feel there is a lot of kind of an obligation for me to share this information I have. If I don't do it, I feel that I'm failing because 30 years of people poured their information into me, and if I don't share it and get that out to other fighters, then it's a loss, right? And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that gets out. And so that's my thing, is I'm going to focus on, at least I'm going to aim for 2 practices a week, hoping, right? But I'm also swimming in my pool every day, which my lady, he told me laps would be cool. And then I gotta be honest with you, they hurt my body. So I'm not super cool with laps, but I still seem to keep doing them. So one of the things, guys, is as we move forward into the opening up the SCA and practices is be thoughtful of yourself and where you're at, and your friends and where they're at, and also reach out to those people. Just make sure you make those connections, because we're all out here, kind of in like space, right? Come get your friends. We're all the same nerds. So I don't know. I think that's a big part about opening practices is reaching out. So, and that, hope you guys all have a great, and also wait, last thing, listen to your body. When your body tells you
Yes.
or whatever, slow down for a minute. It's okay to take a week off practice.
Especially right now.
It's going to extend your fighting career a long time.
Yeah. So on that point, and I don't want to miss this point again, this is the most important time to listen to your body, and most important time to get stretching back in, because it will help you get back much faster than just jumping back into it and hurting yourself. So, Nicolina, do you have something on kind of working towards consistency? And
you guys have rocked it. Like, I completely agree with everything you've said. I'm just going to reiterate, consistency beats doing what you can consistently beats the hell out of trying to do what you can't every once in a while. And that I found that to be true in this game. I found it to be true in working out. I've found it to be true in creative aspects. Just be really, really honest with yourself about what you can do, not what you think you should do, but what you can, and then stick to it and be a stickler about it.
awesome. So, good part is we got 2 minutes. This is like dead on time. I don't know how we did it. This is odd. No kidding. I want to take time to thank Nicolina for coming out and sharing. We had a great conversation the other day.
Really cool.
About with Sean about possibly having Sean kind of get some of the folks on the fencing side of the arena, and I might try to pull in some, and we'll talk to some of the other coaches and kind of have a coaches talk with all of them, because I think what we all do is very close. Yeah, we use rattan, but the trick is we're all working really hard in a martial field, and that many of the things that we do is very close to what each other do out there, and that there's some learning crossover ability and all of that. So and I think it's important that, again, goes down to that we're all one and that we're all trying to help each other. So hopefully in the future we're going to see a couple more episodes. I'd actually really look forward to pulling in some folks that are great teachers on the rapier field side and going through some stuff. I know that I was just right before COVID went to Known World Rattan Symposium, or not Rattan, that was the first one way back when I met Sean, Known World Fighting Symposium, and out in North Shield. And I would bet you there 60-70% of the field were rapier people. And I had some great discussions with them. They showed up to a couple of my seminars, a couple of classes, and then a kind of an open forum that we were all just kind of talking. And, one thing I told them is that I think in a lot of ways that they focus on teaching far more than even we do. And the good part is they have a lot of background, a lot of actual books and things to kind of pull that out of, and a fencing culture that came out of Europe that's still kind of vibrant in some ways, where we just don't have the manuals and things like that. But it was a really refreshing. I love talking to them. So I'm hoping we get a chance to share that here on Coach's Corner in the near future. On that point, next week we have, I got to look. So we have Developing the Fighter's Mind. And Sir Octa is going to be running that one, but there's a bunch of people. There's some great people there. Viscount Tristan and Sean and Sagan and Ratkin and I was on it, but I'm going to drop off of it just because there's so many other great people there. It's actually something I've just been working on a lot and talking about a lot on my Sundays. The fighter mind, not only how to develop yours, but how to break someone else's down. And I think it should be a great episode. This is one of those don't miss. Send it out to others. Because I tell you, the physicality piece brings a lot, but you wonder why guys past their 50 and women past their 50 can perform at levels that are still way higher than younger people. It's because they have this, because they know how to use it. And I think that's what we're going to be going over next week a little bit, is some of that. So I look forward to it. You guys have any last things to say? Nicolina?
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome. I hope we weren't too yappy with you, and thank you for coming, because I really love some of the stuff you had to say. I really did. Thorfin?
Just happy to say thank you guys for having me here, and Nicolina, it was great working with you, and I look forward to talking to you guys more.
Awesome. Well, to everybody else, we're going to get Vesper back up here so she can tell me to shut up and shut everything down. And but before we go, a huge thanks again, Vesper, for doing this and doing this for the society for boy, how long's it been now? Almost a year and a half, right?
Feels like forever. It's like a new way of living now.
So and thanks for everybody who actually watched these, because I think our best part is we love sharing, and this gives us that opportunity to do that, and really leaving something behind for people to work farther forward in the future and be better teachers and coaches, I think are what all of us want. So thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Vesper, all yours.
All right. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in on Friday. Thank you, Nicolina, for being our amazing guest tonight. And I hope everybody has a really safe 4th of July. Have fun with friends and family. Enjoy it. And we'll see everybody next Friday. Bye.
Bye. Be safe.